Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today is supposed to be an amazing match of Terran versus Zerg. It's a best of 5 series. Supposedly it's some of the highest level TVZ that we have ever seen, so I'm very excited to find out exactly what ended up going down between these players. First off, in game number 1 on the map Oceanborn, in the top left hand corner we have Clem. His opponent, in the opposite corner, with the red Zerg drones, he goes by the name of Solar. Europe's greatest Terran going up against, well, South Korea's greatest Zerg. It's always a bit of a... They've been going back and forth. It's always a bit of a difficult call to make. So, a couple months ago, Solar solidly managed to overtake Dark for that #1 Korean Zerg position. But over the last couple of weeks, it seems like Dark has been climbing back up through the rankings. That being said, Solar, of course, ended up winning the GSL Code S, and, well, because of that, I think it's a fair estimation, at the very least, to make that he is the greatest Zerg from South Korea. Either way, neither of these two players plays a particularly spicy early game. They do mix it in every once in a while. Generally speaking, though, both of them, in my mind, are very mid-game focused. Now, of course, I haven't seen these games yet, but if I were to make a guess, the early game is gonna be relatively passive. This was played during the final Premier Tournament of 2023, so $75,000 tournament. And apparently these two, they bring the best out in both of each other, or in one another. It's probably a better way to put it. Command center on the low ground right here for Mr. Clem. It's gonna be a Reaper that will be heading across the map here momentarily. Only a single Overlord going across the map. What Solar is mostly looking for here with the second Overlord is apparently not proxies. He's just paying attention right here to that very first SCV that goes across the map. This is something that Solar will actually change up depending on who he's going up against. If he goes up against, for example, Björn, I would not be surprised that he's gonna look all around, at the very least his side of the map, to make sure that there's no barracks planted anywhere, because Björn is very well known to go for couple barracks on the other side of the map and maybe rush a couple Reapers towards the natural expansion of the Zerg, but Clem, not really somebody who mixes that in all too often, although maybe a triple Reaper opener at some point in this series would not be too much of a surprise. Respect coming out of Solar here, going for 6 defensive Zerglings. Most players only ever make 6 defensive Zerglings against 2 different Terrans. A lot of the Koreans do like going for 6 as their go-to, but I've seen Solar go for 4 in many of his games as well. It's a very small deviation. Oh, that would be huge. Very nice snipe right there for Clem. I think Solar only goes for 6 Zerglings against either Björn or Clem, because they're, well, phenomenal when it comes to that early game Reaper harassment. And honestly, getting a Zergling together with a Creep Tumor, when your opponent goes double Queen together with 6 Links, like that's already a flying start right here for Clement. Third CC coming up already. Starport on the back of this. I'm expecting a tech lab here on the barracks. There it is. This is the classic triple CC opener. I always think of this as the Clem opener, because he likes to play it more so than anybody else. It's very stock standard. It's one of those builds that allows you to stay alive against, well, practically everything that the Zerg can throw at you in the earlier stages of the game. So you go for a Reaper, you go for the Marine on the back of it. There should be a Marine. There he is. Then you go for the Hellion production and then eventually into Banshees. This is one of the safest ways to open up, assuming your micro is on point. Whilst at the same time, you can also deal a lot of damage on the other side of the map. Yep, it is going to be the Cloaking Field upgrade too. So the nice thing about this particular start for Terran is that you're not really forced to deal early game damage. Because of that really quick third command center, you can actually match the Zerg's economy relatively easily. Speaking of which though, Solar is just pumping out as many drones as possible, so even though he did decide to go for 6 Zerglings in the earlier stages of this game, those are the only Zerglings that he's made so far. Now he adds on 8 more, but those are relatively late actually, all things considered. Usually we see the Zerg making those extra Zerglings a little bit earlier by the time that 4 Hellions can arrive on their side of the map. These are small things, but I think Solar is putting Clem right here on that opener that he's gone for, and because of that, well, now he's got confirmation as well with that Overlord Scout. Because of that, he decides to be ever so slightly greedier than he might otherwise be. Ultimately, though, it means that both players... Oh, no. My cat is right behind me. He's making a lot of noise. Toby, chill. I think he's got some zoomies right now. I never cast with my cat in the room, okay? I actually did one series, like a month or two ago. As we do have the Banshee now coming in. I casted one series where I forgot that Toby was chilling right behind me on the chair. And after I filled the earliest part of my video like 17 times, so I was like, hello, like I finally had a good thing going after probably about 5 to 10 minutes of failing miserably, right? Finally had a good thing going, and then Toby decided to jump onto my desk. And I had completely forgotten that he was in the same room as I was. I ended up restarting that cast, but honestly, in hindsight, now that I tell you guys the story, I should have probably just left it in, because I freaked out. I can probably find the recording somewhere if I haven't deleted the footage yet. I was not having a good time. I got an IRL jump scare while casting StarCraft, which is something I've done many times before, you know, so you can kind of estimate what's going on. Anyways, 9 workers killed here by our Terran player. Yeah, we need a live blooper reel. Editing bloopers at the end of a video is something I've considered in the past. Because sometimes, for some reason, especially if I have to redo the start of the video like more than twice, it gets harder. Like, the first 2 times, relatively straightforward, but if I then fail another time, for some reason, I start stumbling over my words a lot more than I did the first 2 times. Usually what I do these days is I just take like a, I don't know, like a 3-minute break. I just walk away from my computer for a little bit and then retry, because that seems to work out a little bit better. Anyhow, this is a opener right here from Solar, where he's getting the quick double upgrades. What that also means, though, is that he's delaying his baneling speed a little while. He will not have baneling speed ready for these big attacks from Terran, but as long as he finishes up in a reasonable matter of time, he should be okay. It's just that these attacks right here are very scary. He must have seen the Widow Mines there, because he's decided to just not commit to fighting this at all. There is an Overseer up in the air. That one was originally made to deal with... Okay, that's one way to get rid of them. That was originally made to deal with the Banshees. At the same time, though, the Marines have found that new expansion that Solar has been working on for a little bit, but it will also stay alive. Alright, so ultimately a good start right here for Clem. The problem is, it's not crippling amounts of damage that he's done right here to Solar. A lot of games for Terran are won by this point, just because they've managed to, for example, get the kill on that base, or they managed to kill like a dozen workers. All of this is something that Solar can recover from, and we see Solar do that very frequently. Clem very much so, at least historically, he relies on that tempo advantage quite a bit. I keep glancing over my shoulder to make sure that Toby is still in the chair. He's still in the chair. He's just repositioning while making noise. Anyways, nice little engagement right here, but this is what I'm talking about. Solar right now has got a good number of units. He's got a decent amount of creep spread, and maybe this Widow Mine drop can change something. Queens were already waiting for that as well. I'm playing Five Nights at Freddy's in real life. You never know, dude. You gotta keep checking the light, keep checking the door. There might be a runner. Okay. Clem is gonna continue the pressure over here, getting rid of some of the creep in the center lane of this map. Very handy. Widow Mines set up in good positions. Nice bit of friendly fire done over here, though. Look at that. Jimmy floating through my screen. Hydrant is down on the back of this. Ooh, Widow Mine drop continues. Nicely defended, though, here by Solar. If one of those fights goes heavily in favor of Terran, I think Clem will not let go of this game anymore. If he kills one of the expansions, one of the armies, maybe half a mineral line, I think he is gonna be able to run away with the victory. The problem is, there is a light at the end of the tunnel right here for the Zerg. All of this aggression, all of this tempo advantage that Clem has been creating for himself can be shut down by a lurker transition. And that's exactly what Solar is going for here. Widow Mine? Okay. Constantly retargeting here, trying to make sure that it deals as much damage as possible, and then ultimately the Widow Mine doesn't really achieve that much. This base is running dangerously low, Lurkers are an expensive unit. The Hive and the Den and all that also pretty pricey. Clem not really teching up himself. +2/+2, just seconds away from finishing right now. But rather than putting all of his units in one big ball, apparently Clem has decided, no, I am gonna continue splitting my army here. And we'll try and push the opponent back. Yeah, problem is, Zerg can actually defend here on the right side of the map and then still be home in time as well to defend this one over here on the left, because that Zerg army is so fast on creep. Speaking of which, by the way, Solar has been doing an amazing job just replacing those creep tumors and, well, at the very least, recovering in that aspect decently well. That's another thing where we see it go wrong for Zergs so very frequently against Clem, where Clem manages to establish a foothold and that creep just never comes back. Okay. Viper's coming up, by the way. Apparently we're prioritizing. Ooh, little mistake right there from the Frenchman. Drop over here once again, but Queens in the right position. Yeah, lovely work here by Solar. Prioritizing Vipers is an interesting one to me. It's probably just for parasitic bombs. I don't think he's suspecting that there's any siege tanks out on the map, but yeah, I guess if you parabomb a couple of those medevacs, it does slow down the Terran's advancement quite a bit. So parasitic bomb deals 120 damage. Medevacs have 150 health, so it's not like you're going to be able to kill the whole bunch of them in one hit, but, well, it may just kill these ones over here at the bottom of the map, huh? Again, continued aggression over here, but you can see that the momentum here has shifted a little bit. Ooh. Somehow, some way, that Widowmine shot from the grave. Incredible. Yep, so these medevacs are in a world of trouble. These Vipers are just slowly getting it, and look at that. Nidus Worm already on the back of this too. Really lovely play here by Solar. Both of the medevacs now gone. What Solar is aiming for here is a Nidus Worm into the main base. So this Overseer here has been tasked with that objective. He's gonna try and get vision over here. He will get vision. A little bit of a Zergling push over here at the third base too. Reinforcing Terran units are available. There's the Nidus Worm all the way in the top left-hand corner. Honestly, I'm very impressed with the way though that Solar managed to hold on here. He managed to hold on and even put himself in a really good position at this point. Now the Nidus is available. He's gonna be able to shut down that Ghost Academy. A couple Zerglings immediately burrow here too. I kind of like the burrow here on those links because it will provide him more vision in the future too, to put up another Nidus Worm after this one ultimately gets shut down. Aggressive move forward here. So Solar has got all the tech to make lurkers, but he didn't even need it. Clem is gonna have to shift gears here. Now I do feel like he's gotten a lot better at that over the course of the last couple months, maybe the last year or so. But this is all very costly for him. Oh, there's a Widowmine. Nah, that's not gonna happen. Oh, it will stay alive, but just barely. I thought this was here to provide vision for another Nidus, but apparently not the case. Anyways, Clem used to be incredibly good whenever he was aggressive, but defensively, there was still some room for improvement. I've seen some very solid passive games though from Clem over the last couple months where, yeah, he's playing that Maru-esque style. Better, honestly, than Maru. I've been a lot more impressed by Clem over the last few months than Maru. And, yeah, he's been very good defensively, too. Now there's finally some lurkers out. Ooh, alright. That Banshee from the early game still available. It decides to, both of them decide to activate their cloaking field. Orbital command, not quite what we're looking for. I think that Solar, in an expertly played game, has just managed to, yeah, out-control Clem, which is not really something that we see all too often. But this is a uphill battle right now for Clem. The only thing he really has going for him at this point is the left side of the map. Those expansions over there have not yet been taken care of by Solar. And finally, okay, a little bit of counterattack damage is being done. Clem wants to tech up to higher tier units. He wants to get Liberators and a lot of Ghosts going, but at this point he just doesn't really have the income level to properly transition towards that army composition. So he's, yeah, forced to just stick around on mines and marines and mostly a lot of SCVs again as well. Nidus Worm immediately on the back of this. Those Banshees from the early game are actually so handy. Still providing so much value here. Liberator, just trying to harass wherever possible. Abduction, though, is going to get rid of that one too, and the Hydras will be able to finish the job. This is a proper high-level game, though, because Clem was leading the mid-game. Solar managed to hold on. He started with a really good spot, and I guess what we can call like the early late game. But now it looks like Clem has mostly stabilized. I'm still definitely favoring this position here for Solar. But Clem is still in this. He did spend quite a bit of his money on orbital commands, so he's got 6 orbital commands in total in this game, and that's going to allow him a lot of mule production, a lot of scans if he needs it. Alright. Push over here, also dealt with just fine. Yeah, if Clem can have a couple of his Widow Mines connect on this Zerg army, I think life is going to be pretty good for him. Spire coming up. That's gonna... Oh, okay. 2 goes for an Overseer, not quite ideal. That's gonna allow him to get some Corruptors going. I think at the very least that is the plan. One thing to note too is that on this map, it's actually quite difficult for Zerg from this position to take another base. That's an empty one. This is really the only likely location where Solar can expand to. I guess the same spot on the left side of the map too, but those bases are not easy to acquire. So that's why he's being so aggressive here. Trying to end this game before he ultimately needs those expansions, but Clem is nicely turtled up here. Average APM in this game is off the charts. Honestly, these Baneling connections are not good. Really lovely splits right there by the French Terran. Nidus Worm in the main base. There's a random Cyclone now available. I'm assuming that's a misclick. Unless this guy has been assigned with the job to snipe Niduses. Nidai. Nidus. I don't think so, because it's pretty bad at that, but... Interesting unit to bring in. We have an Infestor on the production tab. 2 of them. Whoa, whoa, how did that EMP not connect on that Viper? It was aiming for a parasitic bomb, but then apparently it reconsidered its thoughts. Another Nidus Worm in the main base? My god. Yeah, so basically if you struggle in StarCraft 2, right, and you would like to get better at the game, just do the same thing faster and better. Just play quicker. Just have 700, you know, actions and you'll be fine. But also make sure you stay calm, though. You can't just play full panic mode the entire game long. Clem's actually so insane, though. I could have sworn the man was dead like 5 minutes ago. And I'm still not in love with this position. But this is also starting to look mighty desperate here for Solar. Man, the harassment here from the Zerg is insane, though. Yeah, this position here has just not been breakable. Solar, at the very least, has not been able to do so. I want to have a quick look after this engagement shuts down to the resources lost. Medevac's putting in a lot of work. Yeah, so Zerg has lost tremendously more here over the course of this game. So that income advantage that Zerg has had, it's been an absolute necessity. Clem is mostly making up for it. And look at the resource counts right now. Not too long ago, Clem was sitting at like 150 supply. No money in the bank. Solar was maxed out with like 4k in the bank. Something like that. Solar still maxed out. Clem still at about 150 supply. But the bank has disappeared. What we do have right now, though, is well, a couple of these Infestors. I think we still have Viper. Just a single Viper still available. Yeah, okay, this expansion's looking really vulnerable. Oh, big funnel growth, okay. That's ultimately gonna seal the deal, but that was incredibly well played right there by Clem. Game number 2. We find ourselves on the map Equilibrium. Now, this is certainly Mr. Solar's map pick. So apparently this map has about a 40% win rate at the tournament level for Terrans. So that's a significantly better score for Zerg. Oceanborn was definitely Clem's map pick, as it has about a 56% advantage for Terrans. Obviously, you always have to take those stats with a grain of salt. Because, well, all tournament games are usually included in those statistics. And let's just say that the guys in the top 10 play significantly better than guys even within like the top 100, right? The skill level difference is quite noticeable. Either way, Solar, yeah, apparently happy to play on this map. Clem decided that Oceanborn was going to be the way to start this series. One of the reasons why this map is very good for Zerg is the golden minerals together with that rich Vespian geyser. Not an expansion that we've seen a lot of Zerg players rush out as of late. But it is something that they will usually take eventually. Oof. Getting that creep tumor is so nice. It's not even just that it slows down the creep spread, but it's also a mental hit. He doesn't get it here this time around, but Solar still sweating there for just a moment. Triple CC opener once again. This time around, no tech lab right here on the starport, so maybe Viking into Liberator or something like that. Or we could do the switcheroo after the Viking. Small deviations right here by Clem. I don't suspect that Clem is going to be playing any mech throughout this series. I've been watching quite a few of Hero Marines games, and he seems to be quite fond of playing Terran mech as of late, but apparently Clem disagrees. Or at the very least, it doesn't quite work with his particular playstyle. Yep, it's just gonna be that good old Stimpack upgrade once again. Medevac here straight away. Okay. The main downside of this opener here for Clem is that it's technically vulnerable to early game aggression from the Zerg. So really, when you think about it, at this point there is certainly room for a roach push. We have 6 Hellions, 1 Viking, 2 Marines, and a Reaper to deal with like a roach link flood. It would certainly not be enough. The thing is, Solar doesn't know, right? Like, Solar would have to commit to a Roach Warren at about 3.5 minutes or so, maybe 4 minutes if he's really pushing it at latest. And if that's the case, he doesn't know that his opponent decided to play a greedy game. Especially after game number 1 with that quick Banshee opener, I think it's already something... Solar doesn't really play that style in the first place anyways, but yeah, it's already something that Solar is going to have in the back of his mind, and that allows Clem to play an ever so slightly greedier game here this time around. Okay. Yeah, not a lot of links available. Lovely evolution chamber block down. 4 drones, 4, just a single Hellion. Where's that medevac located? What happened with this medevac? Hold on. Sorry, what? Did it just fly? Oh, it dropped off more Hellions, and then it did a fake drop in the main base. Really, Clem? I love these pushes. So Zerg, look at him. He's boosting in an empty medevac. Zerg cannot see. So this is as those Hellions are pushing over here. Zerg cannot see that the medevac is empty, and that's why those Zerglings were chilling in the main base and did not defend against the Hellions over at the third. Yeah. Clem playing a strategy game? Ay, ay, ay. Now I've seen it all. I thought StarCraft 2 was a game about APM and trying to outspeed the opponent. Using strategy? Unheard of. Alright, now the Hellions have found another angle, potentially. Yeah, Clem does this sometimes. Zerglings, though, apparently not too scared. They've decided, no, we are going across the map. Now it makes me wonder whether or not those Hellions could have just driven straight into the natural, but apparently you will be safe for now. Dropping up those Marines. Putting them in locations where they have as little surface area as possible, and they buy enough time for those Hellions to come back. Great execution right here by Clem. Very nicely done. Yeah, so where exactly did that tempo-based play go wrong for Clem in the previous game? So he established a bit of a foothold out on the map, right? He dealt damage on the left, he dealt damage on the right of Oceanborn as well, but he didn't deal critical damage. Then ultimately, Solar managed to stabilize. Now that's the style that Clem is most feared for. So most Zerg players do not want to play against that style from Clem. Solar shutting that down in game number 1, even though he let Clem basically do whatever he liked, is very good for him. I wonder if that means that Clem is going to change up his strategy at all. Probably not too much. Clem probably has a good understanding as to what he should have changed up in that game, but look at him constantly retargeting there with that Widow Mine. It is certainly not something that Clem really wants to deal with. I guess Solar just did a great job not taking damage from like the Widow Mine drops or any of that aggression that came in. Will that be the case in this game too? Well, so far so good. Getting the kill on this hatchery would be a really good start though. Yeah, that's something he could not get done in the previous game, and I think he gets it here. No cancel. Hellions distracting a lot of that Zerg army. Now the medevac drop is going into the main base. Okay. So this is exactly what Clem was looking for on Oceanborn. Solar winning on Clem's map pick would be, yeah, that ended up happening here, of course. That is not quite what Clem is hoping for. And then at the same time, Clem winning on Solar's map pick, especially since this map is significantly worse for Terran than Oceanborn is for Zerg. That would certainly change up this series. Okay, pushing forward here. Using that armory that he made to start up the 2-2 research to morph those Hellions into Hellbats, making it hard for the Ling Bane to engage. Great stuff here. Lovely control by Clem. Okay. That's a good number of drones going down. Look at that medevac. Basically 1 health. Trying to get the Marines to go onto the other medevac instead. Another attack here up north as well. Not bad. Not bad here at all by Clem. Widow Mine's moving forward. These just walked here. Okay. 30 workers in 9 minutes. Solar is still alive, but he's barely breathing here. One thing he does have going for him is those 2-2 upgrades. So this is usually where Zerg players tend to fall behind against Terrans. Not the case with this style that Solar has been playing so far. It's not like Clem is particularly far behind though as far as these upgrades go, but it is definitely not a bad situation for Solar. The problem is, for the Zerg, he needs a hive in order to go into the 3-3 research. And only just now is when that infestation pit starts up. Clem is ready to go for an all-out attack with 2-2, but yeah, right now he's behind in upgrades for another 5 seconds. This is actually not a good engagement right here for Clem. Now it's okay again. Small little bit of time, but hey, that's all you need sometimes in a game of StarCraft. Oh, Overlord's in the wrong position. Okay. Heavy supply block right there for Solar. I think what Clem should do right now is focus on 3-3 immediately. Yep, there it is. So that's a big, big upgrade advantage now. Because the hive is only about, what, like a quarter of the way done here for Solar? The pushing will continue. At some point over the course of the next 3 minutes or so, Clem is going to be able to get a substantial upgrade lead. So the army that he's playing right now is only going to get more powerful. And he should have a lead in that department for quite a few minutes. Honestly, at this point, I don't even know if he really needs it. Like, he's dealing so much damage. Just marching his entire army towards the other side of the map. GG, yeah, he doesn't need it. Clem wins game number 2. Alrighty. That takes us to the map Alcyone. Good situation right here for Clem once again. In a way, whenever you're playing a series, you automatically assume that the maps that your opponent has picked are going to be significantly harder to win, right? So when you're 1-0 behind and then you have to go to your opponent's map pick, it's very easy to assume it's going to be a 2-0 deficit. And then suddenly you have to win 3 games in a row. Winning 3 games in a row at this level of StarCraft 2 is incredibly hard. Basically unheard of. It happens every once in a while, but reverse sweeps are not very common. Now suddenly, I think this is actually a bit of a Yeah, morale boost for Clem. He basically did the same strategy twice in a row with some small deviations, of course, but it worked a whole lot better in game number 2. Solar ended up losing a hatchery, then he ended up losing a queen, then he lost a bit of army, he lost a bunch of drones, and then ultimately he lost like 7 overlords. All of those were mistakes that you can't really afford making. This Reaper is actually, yeah, putting in quite a bit of work. Look at him, dude. 300 APM, microing 1 unit. You know, if this whole StarCraft thing doesn't work out, Clem can always become like a, maybe like a League of Legends guy. Maybe a Dota dude. However you refer to it. I don't know, dude. I watch those esports every once in a while. And I've noticed over the last couple years, I have no clue what's happening. Like, if you're a casual League of Legends enjoyer, it makes no sense. If you occasionally, whenever like the World Championships is going on of Dota, the international, right? Is that the World Championships? I think it is. If you only watch during that particular time of the year, the games make absolutely no sense. I don't think that's quite the case for StarCraft 2, although maybe it is. Like, if you watch like one series of StarCraft 2 every year, is the game as confusing as other esports? Maybe it is. Maybe it just isn't in my mind because I see a lot of StarCraft 2, but yeah, it probably is. I've experienced some of that, I guess, with like the Stormgate games, right? Where I kind of feel like it looks similar, at least, to StarCraft. You kind of look at it and you're like, yeah, this looks familiar, but I have no idea what any of the units do. That's probably what it feels like when you're a casual StarCraft 2 enjoyer. I have very little experience playing either Dota or League. I have played a little bit of both, but it's been many years, and especially with all of the different hero skins, though, it's very tricky. Anyways, Zergling counterattack here. Solar actually catching his opponent off guard. Hellions forced to travel all the way back home. This is really nice right here. Okay. There's a Liberator being annoying. Oh, Brenda. Brenda decided to shoot at the drone. Kind of mean. Okay. Hellions coming in. Okay. Yeah, not achieving that much. They have found a bit of an angle over here, though. I was gonna say, there's not that many lings! Oh my god, that Liberator forcing a lot of those drones to stack together. On the back of this, Solar is mostly just making more drones. What a messy game. Yeah. So both of these guys have decided to test each other in game number 1 and 2 and play a pretty clean game overall. And then apparently now the gloves are off. We're gonna try and counter the opponent's strategies. Ultimately, who comes out ahead here? It's 14 drones that have gone down, but 6 SCVs plus 6 Hellions too? Yeah. I'm inclined to believe that that is better for Terran, but I'm not 100% sure. Those Hellions do lose value over time, so you can't really look at this just from the pure mineral cost. I guess it's okay. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit better for Terran, mostly because he wants to transition towards that marine-based aggression right now. Okay. Armory coming up in the back. That's gonna allow him to go straight into the 2-2 research. No sloppy mistakes made right here by Clem. If he can get the kill on this base, I mean, getting a little bit of deja vu here. The roads in which we get here are a little different. There was no room in the plane for Jimmy and Mark. Which is actually a benefit. They probably felt like they were bullied by the rest of the Marines, but look, you could end up like this guy over here. Oh, okay. Well, they've been dedicated to defending the watchtower now, which is a very thankless job. The medevac drops will be held for now. Double Baneling Nest. That's a strategy and a half. Can we start it up over here too? Oh, we can't. It's one of those moments where mentally it can really screw you up when you realize, oh my god, come on! Get it together, dude! That's what I do in my own games anyways. I eat myself up with those sorts of decisions where I accidentally find myself doubling up on structures where I only need one. Clem not really making any mistakes. Oh, nice hit there as well. Although that second Widow Mine certainly helped out the Zerg more than it helped out the Terran. Bit of friendly fire coming in. Yeah, I say that. Did we only have money for one of the two upgrades? If so, we should not forget about the second one. Oh, he starts it up. He's so good, dude. I think it was on purpose. I think he just had money for one of the two upgrades. He's like, I'll come back to this later. It just makes the upgrade timings a lot harder because suddenly you have to double up the amount of times you have to check it. Kind of messes up the flow of your game a little bit, but apparently, again, it's just a speed issue. Just play faster. Just don't make mistakes. This is looking incredible right here for Clem. Yeah, so he's not playing particularly flashy. He's not doing any crazy build orders. He's just doing stock standard StarCraft really, really, really well. And if you ask me, he's doing it better than any other Terran out there right now. I know there's always people that are part of the Church of Maru that are still in the illusion that South Korean players are just by default better at the game. I've seen a lot of Church of Maru members over the years on the internet.
Sure, it doesn't count because these players have not won a GSL Code S. Cyril's not the GOAT. It's because he's never played in a GSL Code S. He can't be the GOAT if he doesn't.
No, dude. There's a lot more tournaments out there these days that I think are more difficult to win than the GSL Code S. Anyways, Clem doing a phenomenal job. Yeah. Now he's just stimming everything that he's got across the map. +2 has finished up for him. +2 armor, obviously a little behind. That one pesky Liberator in the mix here too. Clem is not letting go, man. He's just trying to suffocate his opponent. Beautiful stuff. GG is cold. Clem wins game number 3. Solaris. I mean, this has got to be Solar's win, right? Just because of the map name? Solar losing a series on Solaris would be very disappointing. I wonder what Solar thought when he first saw that one of the new maps in StarCraft 2 was named Solaris. Do you assume that he thought it was in his honor? They named the map after him? I am the sun. You shall make a map and name it after me. Yeah, it's his home turf. Although he could have picked it as map number 1 in this series and he decided to go with Equilibrium, so yeah. It is what it is. Alrighty. All jokes aside though, that previous game was incredibly well done by Clem. The non-stop aggression, non-stop multitasking, and just... yeah, driving... like, he's put his foot on the gas in the corners, you know? Like, he is trying to accelerate in the corners. For some reason, it seemed like that previous game was played even faster than the ones before that. Once the man gets going, he does not let go very easily, and... well, Solar wasn't even remotely close to, for example, teching up towards Lurkers, right? Or getting up to Hive Tech and making Vipers, or something like that. Solar was just trying to stay alive for what seemed to be the entirety of the game, and ultimately he got overwhelmed. So it's again a triple CC start. It's again a 1-1-1 here as well for Clem. No Banshee though. Yeah, that previous game did get a bit messy too, because Solar decided to start the game off with a Zergling counterattack. And that ultimately opened the door for Clem to do that Hellion run-by that we saw. I thought that that exchange was relatively even, but I think ultimately it was quite a bit better for Terran. Mostly because those Hellions do lose value as the game goes on. Okay. No need for Clem to switch it up. He's going to be doing the same thing once again. Triple Rex here. Does Solar change anything at all? So one build, for example, that we've seen players like, for example, Cyril mix in is that quick Roach Warren. He goes for like a Roach Ling-based army early on, and then he transitions away from it when he gets up to Hive Tech and he rushes out those Vipers. I've discussed that strategy quite a bit over the last couple of weeks, but it's an interesting style to play. I haven't really seen any of the other high-ranking Zergs mix that in all too often. But I think that's a style that is very strong when it comes to shutting down that tempo that Clem is trying to establish out on the map. I guess the main downside of playing a Roach Ravager-based army early on is that you can't really play reactionary very well. Like, say there's a medevac drop in the main base and you're not prepared. You have to run your Roaches on over in that direction. You're very far behind right from the start of that engagement. Whereas with Ling Bane, the units are so quick that you can still get around relatively easily. Solar apparently believes that all he needs to do is do the same thing, but then ever so slightly better. So again, 1-1 upgrades here before the lair. Then finally the Baneling Nest. Over the last couple of years, we've only ever seen the alternate version of a Ling Bane based opener. So, broadly speaking, there are two ways to open up with Zerg against Terran. Against Terran Bio specifically. Either you go for the quick 1-1 upgrades, or you go for the quick Baneling speed. And I want to say over the last couple years, we have seen that quick Baneling speed 9 out of 10 times in these sorts of scenarios. Solar apparently is prioritizing the upgrades here, and then eventually he will get that Baneling speed going. It's technically going to make him a bit more vulnerable to Terran timing attacks earlier on, but later on it's going to give him a little bit more sustain because his upgrades are going to be more in sync with that of the Terran. It's a small deviation, but this Baneling speed upgrade is certainly a bit later. Maybe this is due to the fact that obviously some of the prices of some of the upgrades got changed. So the Baneling speed upgrade, for example, is cheaper these days. But yeah, for example, you could have Baneling speed against this particular attack. Oh my god. Clem gets a queen, gets a second queen. Lovely work. Hydroden coming up. And there's the armory. Right as 1-1 finishes, we should start 2-2. No, he doesn't have the money for it right now. Macro too strong. Oh, okay. Mistake. Mistake right here by Clem. That's gonna make all of this so much harder to execute. Good crisis management, all things considered. Yeah, that's the one downside of the way that Clem plays. He will essentially send all of his units out onto the map. Go forth, my minions! Go get value! And then ultimately you don't have anything at home if there is a group of Zerg coming across the map. There's like one siege tank and then whatever reinforcing unit we had. Honestly, 6 SCVs for that many Zerglings is actually not that bad. Nicely done right there by Clem. Infestation pit coming up. Okay. Solar at this point is feeling pretty good about all of this. Yeah. So he's not finding himself in the position that we saw him in the previous game, where he just did not quite have enough economy to really go up towards Hive Tech at all. He's not rushing out the Hive though, so that's another thing to note right here compared to those Cyril openers that I was referencing earlier. Cyril really relies on getting that transition towards the Hive going before the 7-minute mark, right? Like that entire Roach Ravager army relies on you getting those Vipers as quickly as possible. Now we have like, this seems like a pretty quick Hive to me. Oh, that was almost a disaster. But yeah, now we have a pretty quick Hive with the Ling Bane style. And apparently, with this particular one, it's about 8.5 minutes, and that's totally fine here for Solar. Okay. Here's the 3 additional barracks. Do we have a Ghost Academy already set up? Not yet. Generally, these are in sync. At least most of the time they seem to be, but apparently Clem happy to just pile on the pressure with more of the same units for now. Drilling Claws will be researched as well. There's the Ghost Academy, together with the 3 tech labs here on those new barracks. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, so this is clearly not a situation where Clem can really just steamroll across the map, stab his opponent at 17 different angles at once, and then suddenly win the game, right? This is one of those scenarios where the bases are very far apart, and that just seems to benefit Solar a little bit more. I mean, it benefits Zerg a little bit more with that faster moving army. Okay, Adrenal Glands, ranged upgrade right here for the Lurkers, +3. Solar is starting up a late game transition. Now, he did just spend a lot of money onto things that aren't ready yet for several minutes. Getting the snipe on the Lurker then would be massive, and Clem does indeed shut it down. Excellent boost right there into the main base, recognizing exactly the moment where Solar has just invested a lot of his money into things that aren't going to be benefiting him just yet. Forced to remake a lot of that technology. Okay. Lurker then gets remade. This is gonna slow down any aggression that Solar was planning on going for. Because Lurkers, I mean, you can technically make them without upgrades, but they're kind of terrible without upgrades. So immediately upon that happening, Clem decided to go for a bunch of additional command centers. He's going for a planetary in the middle of the map. It looks like he's going to be able to transition towards a proper late game. Okay. Yeah, he can try and push. I mean, he still will have Adrenal Glands. Yeah, this is a scary Zerg army. It needs to have... Well, at least it's not done yet, but it needs to be respected. Command center itself. Yep. Should have lifted it up a little bit ago. Okay. Solar manages to get some final damage done here. That was good. Oh, no, 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 no! A major error. I actually think that Clem will be happy to trade a command center for 2 Vipers. He's got more. He only lost... Really? In this... Okay, in this game we've only had 9 workers killed in total. That's very expensive. That is not what Solar wants to be losing at this stage in the game. Okay. Couple queens here taking a bit of damage. Hive will eventually finish. Hive number 2, that is, because the first one ended up getting sniped in the main base. Now, for the longest time, whenever Terran was in these sorts of scenarios, right? I'm talking maybe like 2 years or so ago. Terrans would start off with this bio-based army, so an infantry-based army in the earlier stages of the game. Then they would transition towards ghosts. And then as the Marines, medevacs, and marauders ended up dying, they would transition into a mech-based army instead. So they would start off with bio, transition towards ghost bio, and then ultimately they would end up with ghost mech. Not really something we see anymore these days. So this is the more new school approach. Nothing much really has changed. It's just the maps, I guess, and the playstyle that's been adjusted. Great snipe right there by Solar. Although it's gonna cost him a few more Hydras as well than he was hoping for. These days, though, a lot of Terrans like to stick around on Liberator Ghost and go for a more mobile army. And I think it really fits Clem's playstyle in particular. Maybe because Clem is getting so good at playing it. It's not like the mech army has got that much worse. Yeah, it's just that, I guess if Clem is playing that style, a lot of other Terrans will be like, yo, this is apparently what we do now. Even though I think the Ghost Mech army is still a very solid approach. Okay, so, several minutes later, second attempt at Seismic Spines. Second hive is done. Solar's got slowed down quite a bit. Any killer move that he had in mind in that yeah, earlier stages of this game, I mean, they are all thrown out of the window, but this is still a pretty good scenario for him. Just that he's gonna have to win with a long, drawn-out game here. Yep. I guess another reason is that banelings are just not as strong as they once used to be, right? Losing some damage, losing some health. I guess it makes Terrans a lot more comfortable sticking around on this particular army. Plus that minor buff to the Widowmine as well with the most recent patch. Yeah, I guess it makes sense to not make that transition toward... Brenda! Brenda, no! Brenda, get back on the creep. Don't you... No, Clem. Oh my god, so selfless. Did you see that? Her first thing when she got back to creep was to transfuse. That was beautiful. Clem, by the way, did let her live. Okay. So trying his very best to almost soft contain the opponent here on just a handful of bases. It's just that the handful of bases is still a lot. Normally we see Zerg play this style against like 4 base Terran where they're like, okay, I'm gonna allow you 4 bases. I'm gonna mine like 6 myself, and I'm never gonna allow you a 5th. Right? In this particular case, yeah, Clem already has that mass command center style. Killing SCVs is nice and all, but I don't think he really cares that much about losing workers anymore at this point. Okay. Hatchery over here up north did end up getting shut down. Man, he's so active on those Liberators as well, it's insane. Matter of fact, drop going into the main. Looking for another hive to... Whoa, whoa, dude. Yeah, sorry, you got you got messed up right there, Mr. Jimmy. I feel a little bad for you. Another random cyclone. This is the second time we see a random cyclone in this series. Makes me think it's on purpose, but I don't know what the purpose of it would be. If he remakes it right now, it was on purpose. I think it's just a misclick. It has to be a misclick. Okay. It's like the random swarm host that Zerg players sometimes accidentally mix in. Medevac drop continues over here, over in the natural expansion. Another drop though. Ooh, dealing a lot of damage over at this base. Clem just lost a ton of stuff at home. Solar still has a maxed out army with a good amount of money in the bank as well. And this base is very exposed. No planetary fortress. Okay. That's dangerous. How many command centers are still remaining? Not again, not again. Ay, ay, ay. We're at 5 orbital commands still. Looks like one of them may just be... Oh, look at him, dude. He's rallied onto one of the SCVs. Please repair me, bro. Repair me, bro. He did not get repaired. Alright. So we're down to 4 orbitals. 48 SCVs remain right here for Clem, which is not great at all. Lurker is gonna deny that base once again. And Clem, yeah, he's effectively been soft contained on just a small amount of bases. Quote unquote small amount of bases. It's an interesting strategy to soft contain your opponent like this though. Historically, we used to like, I don't know, dig a moat around them, right? Make sure they couldn't be resupplied. Apparently, Solar's strategy is to run all around the castle instead. Make sure that he can shut it down eventually. It's an interesting approach, but it seems to have worked here. Just run around it in circles. Faster than they can resupply. Burrowed Zerglings right now in locations where the Terran's thinking about expanding to next. Whew. I'm getting kind of tired just casting these games. Imagine playing it. These guys have been going at it for, I want to say, an hour at this point. And they've been doing a lot more APM than I have been talking, yeah. They're happy to play the long game, though. 628 average actions per minute here by Solar throughout this game. 474 by Clem. Interestingly enough, I'm more impressed here by the speed of Clem than I am of Solar. So because of the repeat rates and the repeat delays that Zerg keyboards generally use, the 477 average actions for the Terran is actually absurd. Like, Terrans, they don't really rapid fire a lot of stuff, right? Like, rapid firing Stimpack, for example, suboptimal. You don't want to rapid fire Stimpack, okay? Not a great situation. Not a great situation to be in. Zergs usually rapid fire most things. So with rapid fire, basically what it means, right? Say you select all your hatcheries, then you select the larva, and then you hold down the hotkey for making Zerglings. So default hotkeys, this would be like 4SZZZZZ, right? So you just hold down the Z hotkey. That counts for every group of Zerglings that you make as one action. So ultimately, you're really just holding down a button, right? It's a little bit different. Massive fungal growth! Okay, I'll shut up, Solar. Jeez, man. Your APM is impressive too. I take it back. That may actually just seal the deal. Yeah, Clem was trying to re-secure the top left-hand corner of the map. That Infestor even manages to run away right now. 29 additional workers go down. Insane. Solar is also mostly broke, but he still has 69 workers remaining. That's pretty nice. He's also taking one of the bases at the bottom of the map that ordinarily would be his opponents. Oh, looks like quite a few units over here for the Zerg did end up getting denied, but I think he still has enough. Bangling's going through that speed circle as well. Fungal? Ah, we don't even need it. That was just fireworks for the sake of fireworks. Barrel bombs? Hey. Yeah, the only thing we can really criticize Solar for in this particular game is the Viper control. I don't think it's been quite optimal. He's been losing a lot more of them than he really needed to, but this has been expertly played. Zergling over here denying that orbital command as well. Clem is basically broke. Yeah, APM is an indicator of speed, but because of modern ways that players approach the game, it's a pretty difficult statistic to look at and really draw any real conclusions from. But generally speaking, a higher number equals better. Yeah. The thing is, people are running special keyboards and all kinds of stuff. And Clem decides to just step out here. He realizes that this is not going to happen. And even though he tried to make the best of it, it's Solar who outplays Clem. And that will bring us to Site Delta. The final game of this best of 5 series. These guys are incredibly evenly matched. They've been playing some very close games, and it seems like the first player to make a major screw up is the one who loses, right? So the overall goal is to, yeah, not make any mistakes. We come back to the same conclusion as we started this series off with. Just don't make any mistakes and you'll probably win. The problem is that there's a lot of room for mistakes the longer that the game goes on, and at this point these guys have been going at it for a long while as well. They have in the back of their minds that there's $75,000 on the line for the tournament that this particular series is from. And that is also something that's, yeah, gonna make things a little scary, right? Like, when you've been going at it for a long while, your caffeine may also be running out. I don't know if there's any rules as far as caffeination goes in the StarCraft 2 rule books, but I can imagine that I would be ready for a cup of coffee after playing 4 of these games so far. Anyhow. Alien production coming up, and ooh, hold up right now. Ah, Clem is mixing it up, really? He's mixing it up now. That actually surprises me. I did not expect. So he must be feeling this series. He decides to slow down with the strategy and go for an entirely different build. This is a double factory start here for Clem. He's gonna play Cyclones. No way. Cyclone Hellion in game 5 of this series. That's kind of nuts. Now, this is a style that is very uncommon. Mostly because the top level players consider it bad. They just don't consider it a very good strat. This is the latest upgrade that got added to StarCraft 2. It's called Hurricane Thrusters, and it's basically a movement speed buff to the Cyclone. Now, you gotta be very conservative with these units. Losing any Hellion at this point would be painful. But you also don't want to, like, be too cautious with your Hellions, because then you might be telling your opponent the story that something is not quite right. Okay. Solar scouting right now. He's looking. He does not see a third command center. And he also does not see a starport. 2 Marines, a bit fishy. Yeah, okay. I like this here for Solar. So Solar is realizing that something is off. He doesn't know what it is. But he's been seeing the same strat from his opponent. Well, with different flavors and different ways of getting there. Throughout this series. He decides to go for a lair together with a Roach Warren here. It is going to be Stimpec on the back of this here for Clem. So that's a... Huh. That's a very cool follow-up. I don't know if I like it, but I think it's cool. Okay. Well, now the Cyclones have been revealed. You can't make this many Terran mechanical units off of a single factory at this point in the game. Okay. Zerglings in the meantime on the other side of the map. I mean... I made that sound very dramatic, but it's only like 5 Zerglings. It's only 5 Zerglings. 12 Roaches coming up on the back of this. We're gonna need to get a Roach speed. There it is, but it's still ages away from finishing up. Okay. Can he deal enough damage to justify all of this, though? Because keep in mind, Clem delayed his third command center for this for a long time. So far... I think I like the position for Terran, but I'm not in love with it. These Hellions may actually just justify this entire build, which is kind of funny. Yeah, them killing 5 drones is actually quite substantial. Because that's going to even up the worker count quite a bit. Okay. So now Stimpec finishes. Huh. He's still making Cyclones, though. Lings once again sneak in. They will see the additional barracks here. So that's a clear indicator here to Solar that this was just a mech opener and then a transition towards bio. So he decides to go for the missile upgrade, despite the fact that his entire army right now is Roaches. So he's reading his opponent very nicely here. Is he gonna make a Bailing Nest? I think he will. I think he will make a Bailing Nest here eventually and just get Bailing speed going as well. For now, though, it will be Roaches together with Zerglings. There it is. Bailing Nest together with a Infestation Pit. What Solar really wants to do at this point is make a whole lot of drones, I think. But he's a bit scared because this is an untreaded territory in StarCraft 2, right? Like, do you really feel brave enough to make drones at this point? Probably not. So he's doing that awkward thing where he's making drones together with army and he's sort of doing a move out, but then he's going back home. There's little confidence right here in this Zerg gameplay. But it's mostly because Clem's strategy is mediocre at best. But because it's mediocre, it's also something that Clem, or that Solar hasn't really played against all too much, so it may just catch him off guard a little bit. Okay. 1 Infester. Ah, you know what? I like it. 1 fungal growth on a bunch of these units, that will shut it down permanently. It's also very good, of course, against that bio-based army. And that is one of the changes with the most recent StarCraft 2 balance patch. You will now actually have, well, fungal growth energy. Okay. Hive coming up together with Baneling speed. It's an interesting combination of things. I'm assuming the Hive is going to be for a Viper or 2, but Adrenal Glands is also, I guess, a very powerful upgrade here. But yeah, this is definitely a little bit of a strange game right now for Solar. Fungal! He's not gonna reach it, no. The Cyclones do move away just barely in the nick of time right there. Well done by Clem. There is certainly gonna be a time that will come here where these Cyclones will be given up on. And that time may be right now. I don't know. It's too expensive, and he's gonna need units up here. Now suddenly the Marine transition is well underway. Brenda and Karen on a little bit of a march off creep. That's Brenda dead. Karen gets to run away. That Infestor energy, well, I think he's gonna be glad he didn't waste it. Cyclone's coming back home from the bottom. Clem has seen the Infestor though, so he knows he's gotta be very careful about all of this. Love that siege tank positioning right there. That siege tank is so difficult to reach. That fungal did nothing. There's no energy for a follow-up fungal just yet. Man, it would have been amazing if he had one right here. He is going to be able to shut this down eventually just because of the sheer numbers. But that was an expensive trade right there for Solar, who's now going to go into the Ultralisk Cavern. Okay. +2/+2, Adrenal Glands, Ultras. I'm a little conflicted here about Ultralisks. They can be really good against the current army of Terran, but it's gonna take a while until they're underway. And once you do get up to Ultras, they're usually mediocre at best for like 3 minutes. And then Terrans just murder them. Oh, okay, a couple Banelings right there to finish off that siege tank. A little pricey. Oh no, not again! Ooh. Barely manages to run away. Decent target firing right there by Clem does get rid of at least some of those Banelings. Those Cyclones are still going. You know, if I had to choose to be a unit in any player's army, I think I'd want to be a unit in Clem's army. Yeah, he seems to take care of them quite well. Zerg players definitely don't care about their units. Some Protoss players will care about their units, I suppose, but I think I'd want to be a Liberator in Clem's army. I think my survival chances are the best if I am a Liberator. If you had to be one StarCraft 2 unit, and you wanted to survive the game, which unit has the best chance of surviving? I'm actually not sure. I think a Liberator is a pretty good choice. I think Baneling is one of the worst choices. You want to be a Ghost in Clem's army? The third Overlord. The third Overlord is a good choice. Clem over here snipes the base. And what looks like a pretty minor move may actually be very substantial. There's 87 workers right now for Solar. He does not have any incoming bases. He's gonna need to get a new base going to minus at least somewhat effectively. Those Widow Mines putting in so much work. Medivacs trying their very best. +2/+2/+2/+2. All finishing up on the right side of the screen. Both players think they have the upper hand. Look how in sync they are. Like, as weird as this game has been, the fact that those upgrades finished within a second of one another is just kind of insane. The trades have been efficient, though, for our French Terran. He is going to be forced to retreat from the right side of the screen, but trying his best again to back up to the safety of that mineral line. Parabomb, insta-split off. My god, Clem. Clem is looking insanely good as of late. Oh, getting this base kill would be huge, and he knows it. He knows if he kills this base that this is going to be incredibly hard. Look at those Ultras. They are what the kids call mid. For real, dude. No cap. Sheesh. No, they really are kind of bad. Whoa, hold up right now. Did I just... There was a little attack over here, but oh, there were a few Banelings in the mix. Okay. So, whilst I was trying to appeal to all the 12 people that watch my videos below the age of 20, apparently there was also a Baneling roll by over here. And that turned out to be quite good right here. Yeah. Oh, those Widow Mines not helping out Terran very much now. Okay, so you know what? That actually makes all of this a lot better here for Solar, because not only did he keep that base alive, he finishes the expansion right here on the right side, plus 19 SCVs down the drain is huge. Ravager, what are you doing, buddy? Okay. He's just busy dying. Push over here on the left is going to continue. A couple of the Biles are apparently caught up in all of this. Liberators now added into the mix. I love those Liberators. Very good answer, of course, against Ultralisks. Ultras running dangerously low on health. Another set of corrosive Biles here will get rid of that second Lib as well. Terran, in the meantime, expanding all the way towards the left side. So this is actually kind of cheeky. Solar is anticipating this to be the next base up there. He does not know about this expansion here that Clem is taking in the direction of where the Zerg lives. Yeah, he wants to be neighbors. He wants to be able to come on over, maybe take his opponent's Wi-Fi, that sort of thing. Nice. Yeah, they're pretty dead. Ultras really are very bad, though, at this stage in the game. Like, there's Ghosts, there's Liberators, there's plenty of Marauders. They're only good, really, against Marines. And I think Clem has got plenty of units here to tank for those Marines, yet Solar decides to double down. He can't really make a transition at this point. Like, that's a big problem for him. He can't really go into, like, say, for example, Lurkers. Because Lurkers are also not a great choice against this particular army. I guess you go Hydraling Bane? That's an option. But you need Hydras, and he doesn't quite have those yet either. So he decides to just stick around on a Ling Bane with Ultra support-based army. It makes sense. But I'm a little afraid that he is gonna bleed out because of this unit comp. Clem constantly has his foot on the gas. I think this is actually a major misread right here for Solar. So Solar assumes that this is like a 5 command center all in. And there's a full base. Now he finds out about it. This is gonna make his heart sink. Like, this is suddenly a much worse game here for Zerg than he realized it was. He thought that over the next couple minutes, Clem was gonna run out of juice, and that he was gonna take that base up north. And he's got vision of that one. Oh, excellent engagement right here once again for Clem. So many snipes. Pew, 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 pew. Liberator, trying to get some work done. Bile almost... Oh, it did land. Never mind. I was gonna say it almost connects. Okay, it looks like Zerg has just barely mustered up enough units here. But that's also partially due to the fact that Clem, believe it or not, made a bit of a macro mistake, it seems. Did he forget producing there for like 30 seconds? Oh no, Clem. Clem washed up, confirmed? I actually know if he... No, maybe he just had a lot of money. It's gonna take him like one more production cycle to be back to maxed out states. Okay. Clem decides to chill for a moment. Solar is mostly broke. And his army composition is not really one that can just go across the map and dominate. Like, he needs an army composition that can sustain him, but he doesn't have anything that can really sustain him. So I think what's happening in this game right now is Clem is slowly suffocating Solar. Solar is not yet in a position where he has to tap out. I mean, he has got a decent economy, he's got a decent army. But decent is not going to win you this game. Clem not really at that mass command center style just yet, though. He's added on a couple more here. Yeah, he's making sure that he's crossing all of his T's and he's dotting all of his I's. Just double checking every location, making sure that he is not caught off guard against like a Zerg base or an army that he didn't expect. Fungal? Okay. Double fungal over here. Infestor is gone at this point, though, and now also those Terran units. Oh, he wanted to close the distance, but the rocks were in the way. New expansion being secured all the way up north here by Clem. Okay, those Widow Mines. I mean, I feel like the Widow Mines have been helping the Zerg about as much as they have been helping the Terran in this particular match. Clem just never lets go, dude. It's insane. He essentially just keeps going. There's the fusion core coming up as well. He's thinking, okay, what could I possibly want at this point? Well, advanced ballistics would be nice. We can also pretend that it's for a battlecruiser transition. Let's pretend that it's for a battlecruiser transition, even though it's not. Because battlecruisers are way cooler than Liberators. Whoa, he's gonna go mass battlecruiser? No, he's not. He's not. No, I'm sorry. He's gonna be going mass Liberator here instead. More of the same, but then slightly better. You can see that Solar is still pushing this back. But the man he's starting to breathe a lot louder right now, okay? You can tell that he's panting at this point. GG, well played is cold. And upon seeing that base all the way at the 12 o'clock position, Solar taps out, and it's Clem who wins this series 3-2.